The revolution's begun. The time to stand up has come. We are the rocking of the throne. We are the rocking of the throne.
Hi, everyone. My name is Victor Tiffany. I'm the co-founder of Revolt Against Plutocracy. A lot of us have friends on Facebook, hundreds of friends, thousands of friends, many of whom we have no idea who they are. We're not really truly friends, and you've never even met them offline in person. My guest today is somebody who's an exception to all three of those. He's a genuine friend. We've met in Philadelphia. I first noticed him because of YouTube videos he was performing and monologues that he was publishing on Facebook, talking about a bizarre situation during the primaries last year in North Carolina, where he was making what seemed to be very strange claims. So I originally reached out to him. He had no idea who I was, and he kind of ignored me at first. And then
I wasn't ignoring you. My inbox was really full.
Once he found out who I was, and then we established a Facebook friendship, and Patrick Walker, the other co-founder of Revolt Against Plutocracy, left the committee, and I knew right away who I wanted to be inviting to replace him, and that is Niko. Niko, please, thank you for joining me today.
Hey, Victor, thank you for having me. And like I said, I wasn't ignoring you. It was a lot of messages. You know, when you're making claims like, oh, by the way, our entire democracy might be a setup and it's completely and totally rigged, you tend to get a lot of messages, not all of them pleasant. So I used to have to cycle through those hundreds of messages daily. It slowed down a little bit since then, but yeah.
I'm sure. Why don't you go ahead and explain very quickly what it was you were trying to tell people about the Bernie Sanders campaign in North Carolina, and feel free to name names.
What it started out as was I was a president of and founder of Bernie Sanders, college students for Bernie Sanders in North Carolina. I was the president and founder of University of North Carolina, Students for Bernie Sanders. And essentially, I was just trying to figure out how we lost, because we shouldn't have. We were the most organized student, like as far as the state was concerned, the students were the most organized in the entire country. The county, because we were primarily in charge of it at UNC, the county and the precinct that I was in charge of, our school killed it, the volunteers killed it, and we destroyed Hillary. But in particular situations where I saw we could have done more, it wasn't being done. And it wasn't because we didn't have the competency. It wasn't because we didn't have the man and woman power. It was just because it wasn't getting done. And so I got a little tip from a friend that this person who was being hired for state director, because I was the acting state director until they could hire someone, the person that was essentially being hired to replace me was not to be trusted. And so he said, I'll let you do your own research and I'll let you figure it out, but you need to keep your distance from her. And so from then on, I did, because I actually got the same, when I first heard about her, I got the same feeling. So somebody else with a lot more experience, a lot more age, and a lot more time in the Democratic Party of North Carolina and the African American Caucus of North Carolina, kind of reaffirmed what I had already been suspicious of. So it was after that although I maintained open communication with her as far as what the school was doing, I started seeing some weird things happening. Like, for example, we were told that, I'm sure you know what HK on J is. If you don't, it's like Immoral Mondays. It's like it's a march by Reverend Barber, who was very, very popular. And we were told that we weren't allowed to participate, which was crazy. We were like, why not? It's supposed to be a nonpartisan thing. And then we were being told that we specifically, the schools, the Bernie Sanders group specifically were being excluded from this. Turns out that was not true. Also, I mean, a lot of stuff happened, but that was the main event that set off my radar. And then the last event that happened that set off my radar is a very good friend of mine, and a colleague that I have a lot of respect for, huge in the Bernie Sanders campaign in Pennsylvania. I had just got off the phone with her, and then someone else called me moments later telling me I wasn't allowed to talk to her because she had been fired from the campaign. That was not the case. It was not true at all. And so, of course, at that moment, and then the response that Aisha gave when we did lose North Carolina, it kind of just cemented what I had already been suspicious of also. And so I made a video about it. Did not think it was going to get the reaction that it got. I did it, I think, in a day. I did a Facebook video first, a little bit longer, because it was actually specifically directed towards the North Carolinians. Because to be honest, it would have taken far too long for me to reach out to everybody. So when I did this video, it was an hour long, and then crazy amount of people reached out to me. Politicians, political consultants, journalists, people within Bernie Sanders' campaign, people who've left Bernie Sanders' campaign and didn't want to tell anyone why they left, because they didn't want to harm Bernie Sanders or make it seem like he was incompetent. I mean, hundreds of people flooding my emails saying that this was happening in their states and within the campaign, and then the regions of the campaign that they were working in as well. And so here we are. I also, when I got that platform, I used it as an opportunity to do what I have always tried to do in politics, which is educate. And it wasn't just the North Carolina aspect of the Bernie Sanders campaign that I was familiar with, but I was also very familiar in the policies that he was proposing. I'm very familiar with social justice issues. I'm very familiar with the nuances of all of these things. And so I was given a radio show by Ed Opperman on iHeartRadio. And so that's where I'm at now. And then me and Victor finally had a chance to talk online. I like the cut of his jib. We did an interview, and then we ended up in Philadelphia together making some huge waves.
Yeah, in Philadelphia, we found out the day or so before our press conference there from the WikiLeaks that what you were claiming, this infiltration of the Sanders campaign by someone either in the DNC or the Clinton campaign, was actually being done. That's what was in the WikiLeaks. So
yep. When we woke up that morning, that was literally the first thing that came across the screen. Everything was true. Oh snaps! People got fired. I still remember that day. It was pretty vindicating. People knew before I did. My messages blew up that day. But when cause I woke up at like 9, I think, before we caught the Uber to go to Philly, or before we caught the Uber to go to City Hall, and I thought something else like Bernie had dropped dead or something. The way my inbox was blowing up, and it turned out that they're like, "Hey, you were right. Here's all the information." And I was like, "Oh wow, this is nice. I knew I was right." I was there, and if anybody who was participating in the campaign or who, that's what I think was what made me so vigilant about it, is because I was talking to people who were affected by this, people who were fired for trying to do the right things within the campaign, people who were fired for reporting this type of behavior that Aisha was demonstrating to the top, and every time it went to the top, the people would be fired. So that's one of the things that I was very happy that to be vindicated, definitely, but it wasn't about really vindication for me. It was more so about just doing the right thing, not only for the campaign and for the people, of course, because you want democracy to prevail, but there were a lot of people affected by that. People put hundreds of hours into Bernie Sanders' campaign that were fired because they went essentially against the establishment.
Why don't you tell us where you are now? What is that in the background there? What city are you in?
Now I am in beautiful Miami. I moved down here because I got an opportunity to work with the Super PAC Jam PAC, we were responsible together. I guess I'm part of Jam PAC. I always forget that, but we were responsible for creating the DNC fraud suit that so many of you are a part of. It looks like we're actually winning. Unfortunately, this is also the fraud suit that many of you are familiar with that was connected with Sean Lucas when he was murdered. He was our process server for this particular lawsuit. So we're obviously on something. We obviously know we know what the answer is. We know that they're in the wrong. At this point, it is merely a matter of going forward and proving it in court, which we have been doing well so far. And what is very exciting about this case is that the judge has made it very clear that this will change it will change precedence for all political parties, what's considered a political party, and what political parties can do going forward. Because if we win this case, it will essentially reaffirm the fact that political parties are indeed corporations, and they are beholden to certain fiduciary duties for the people that invest in them. And that would be the American people, whoever just, for those who donate and expect a particular outcome and is being promised a particular outcome based off of what they are telling us.
Yeah, maybe we can get some congressional hearings about the Clinton interference in the Democratic primary campaigns instead of just focusing on the supposed Russian interference with the general election.
If this goes through, and I'm not going to lie, it's going to take at least 2 years. I mean, it's been a year past thus far, but it's going to take at least another year or so. But if this goes through, and because we're going to have to, we have the benefit of it is we're going to hear their case. And their case so far has consisted of, it's okay that we committed fraud. They already knew we were rigging the primary. And Hillary Clinton and Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the DNC and Donna Brazile, they all knew. And they are going to have to contest in court or not contest in court. Either way, either we win a huge settlement for everyone who was involved in the campaign. That settlement is including the hours, not just the money that was donated, but it will be including the hours. Or we sue them. They get ordered to appear in court, which is what we're hoping for. And people like Mr. Perez, who said indeed the election was rigged, and then he changed his mind a day later. He'll have to go and explain to the judge why he all of a sudden decided to change his mind. So over time, I think that this will still be an issue that we will deal with, and these things don't happen fast. I know we want kind of like immediate satiation, but it's not going to happen. We got to be patient. We have to do this the right way, and Jared and Liz from Beckinley Law Firm and Jan Pack, they're doing it the right way, and they will. And I think, will get the result that we are looking for. And I think for most people, they want confirmation. It's retribution for them is probably just a vindication of saying to everybody who doubted that we never had a chance. And what's even scarier about that is why we never had a chance. Why they wanted Hillary Clinton to be propped up. Why now? Because at this point, when we do win this case, and I say win because I believe we will win it, when we do win this case, why, after Donald Trump decided to bomb Syria, have we not seen one thing about him being connected to Russia on CNN or Fox News or from any of the Republicans or Democrats?
I called into Tim Black last night, and he was doing his opening monologue all about the Syrian bombing, and I proposed that it cynically might have been Trump very consciously trying to distract the media and change the narrative of the media from Russia to, oh, gee, Trump is a real leader. He's actually learned how to kill foreigners, and he's such a commander in chief, blah blah blah, and it's worked. That's the media's focused on that now.
I think that it may be. I think we may give Trump too much credit sometimes. I think that the media and the power that be have forced his hand. I don't think because you have to remember, 3 days before that bombing, he said very explicitly, Assad is not my priority. Within 24 hours, Bannon was fired. Not by Trump, but by quote unquote the Trump administration. Right after that statement, NATO said that, no, sir, you need to still make Assad your priority. And then the UK came out and said he is still our priority, and we will ensure that he remains our priority and NATO's priority. So you have to think about this series of events that happens before the quote unquote, I've always say quote unquote, because I don't believe it was an attack, at least not by Assad, chemical attack. And to be completely and totally honest, it wasn't the fact that Trump bombed the airbase that bothered me, because I understand how military works. It's the fact that this particular attack, for whatever reason, gained so much national attention when stuff like this has been going on in Yemen for the last 2 years. And Hillary pops her head out of nowhere saying we have to bomb this particular airbase. Weirdly enough, I don't know why that airbase was, because supposedly that's where the chemical attacks came from. That's where the planes from the chemical attacks came from. But we don't know where the chemical attacks came from because the UN and the US on the Security Council said that we're going to draft a resolution so that we can investigate the situation. 4 to 5 hours later, there were bombs flying over that Syrian airbase.
Yeah.
So it's a complex and convoluted situation.
Who knew that Donald Trump was going to end up being Hillary Clinton's manservant?
Oh, I think a lot of people did. Well, I think I don't think it would have been, I didn't think it would be this bad, but I think we all knew that he was going to be a puppet, because at the end of the day, his personal image and his ego means too much to him. And he even said in a press conference that it was nothing but emotion driving him to launch those missiles. Nothing but emotion. He said it. He said it was because of the pictures that he saw. That's the wrong way to deal with those type of situations.
Let me just bring up one last topic, and I'll let you go for the day. The Revolt Against Plutocracy group committee is starting a YouTube channel, and we're going to launch it on May 1st. So I'm just curious if you've given some thought as to what your first video might be that you're going to cover and have in place for the launch date.
My first video, I have not given as much thought into. I have given thought to what I'm going to talk about, but the thing about, obviously, our modern geopolitical atmosphere, it could change the day of. I'll probably have a video just broadly talking about one of our issues that we're still dealing with today, whether it be the Republican Congress and what they're doing, maybe a history of the new appointee by the Supreme Court, or even talking about how Israel is actually involved in the Syrian conflict and actually stands to benefit from us destroying them. And I'll probably do another one just dealing with the contemporary, what's going on that week, what's going on that day. And that's probably what I'll end up doing. I definitely like to keep my options open because so many things change in such a short period of time, especially with Donald Trump at the helm.
Right. It's kind of an exciting thing. We're going to be able to have a discussion about any political subject, and I'm looking forward to getting this thing going. Who knew when Sabrina suggested about a month ago that this is going to turn out to be so much work, just getting it ready, getting a song set up for our...
I knew look, I have my page set up and it's still not set up, but I'm working by myself, so it's a little bit more complicated, and I got a lot more going on to deal with, for one person to deal with. So, but it's a lot of work, but it's worth it. It's worth it because of the people that you educate.
Right. Well, appreciate your time, Niko. Have a good day, and we'll talk with you later.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having me, Victor.
Revolt Against Plutocracy won't just be covering the news about the necessary revolution in the United States. Sometimes we'll be making the news. If you want to stay on top of the revolutionary actions and strategies of grassroots, genuine progressives, and our allies, please subscribe to our YouTube channel today.